Press record when you start.
Okay. Just having a little technical. Okay. Are you guys seeing the admission thing on my shared screen? No, right?
No.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining. We're so grateful to our guests here, Brother Chris, and I'm going to let you pronounce your last name. I don't want to get it wrong. Brother William and Sister Mehnaz are here as speakers, and we're also grateful for all of you for joining us, alhamdulillah. I know that this is a topic that is very important for all of our schools and organizations. We've heard a lot of schools being worried about whether or not they're going to be able to even continue their operations for this school year or possibly the next year. So we know that this is the season where there's a lot of in-person fundraisers, and we want you guys to know that there's other ways to do it, alhamdulillah. So necessity is the mother of invention, but as as we'll hear right now, it's not always been necessity that has created this kind of wonderful innovation. Brother Chris will share with us the history of LaunchGood in particular and how long that's been going on. So we're just so grateful to have you all here, alhamdulillah, for the platform of the Islamic Schools League of America, for our organizations that are supporting Islamic schools, including SISNA as well. And we're really trying to fulfill the challenge that is upon us as you all are trying to fulfill the challenge that is upon you as we're all battling the challenges that come to us with the situation with COVID-19. So alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khairan for everybody being here. Without taking too much more time, I would just like to get right into our agenda as well as the norms for our Zoom meeting, so that inshallah we are all on the same page. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Online fundraising tips for success. Each of our wonderful guests are sharing a different perspective on how to use the online platform for or social media platforms for your fundraisers. We've got our opening right now, and then Brother Chris will share with us some proven strategies, not just using LaunchGood, but other just kind of general tips as well. We have Brother William White, who's going to share with us how they achieved over $100,000 or maybe $100,000 fundraising goal with $0 overhead using the WhatsApp platform. And we have Sister Mehnaz, who will be talking about her online gala and how they use that. And we'll inshallah leave some time for question and answer so that we can get some more specifics out for you guys. Oh, did I miss the? Okay, so we've got Zoom norms right here. As you might notice that as you're entering into our meeting, you are all on mute. And so we do love to see you all, so we prefer that your videos are active, but we understand if you might just be in your PJs and not wanting to share that with the world, that's okay, but we love to see you and be able to put faces to your names. I know a lot of us chat over the IECN, our mailing list, so it's up to you, Khair. Using chat, feel free to introduce yourself via the chat, and feel free to ask questions as they arise in the chat so that you don't kind of lose that question. As I mentioned in the agenda, we'll get back to those questions in the remaining 15 to 20 minutes, inshallah. To speak, you're going to raise your hand and a moderator will call on you to unmute your mic, and that's going to be, again, during that question and answer period. The raise your hand function is at the bottom menu of Zoom. I believe, Resha, do you want to jump in and just quickly share where that is? I can't see it. Whoops, I can't see that on my screen as I'm.
Sorry, I'm talking without my mute. If you click at the bottom of your screen where it says participants and a 38 there, a sidebar will come up and then you can see everybody's name. And at the bottom of bottom of that list, there's mute me, and then there's raise hand. If you click raise hand, like I'm going to do right now, you'll be able to see like a little hand in front of my name. And so that's how you kind of would raise your hand. So just a very quick overview.
Thank you, Rasha. And then we'll ask you for just to speak, inshallah, for 1 minute, if possible, to limit your question to a really brief synopsis. So now I've gotten into Chris's talk by 3 minutes. I'm sorry, Chris. Without further ado, I think I will unmute you and
all right, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Okay, great. I'm going to share. Now, are you going to play my PowerPoint or?
Yes, I will, Brother Chris. And yes, I will play your PowerPoint. And you have sent me a wonderful bio.
No, we can skip it. I'll do my bio. Don't worry. I'll do it real quick.
Okay, yeah, please do. Thank you. Okay, Chris.
The last name's actually really easy. It's like Roosevelt with a blah. So Blauvelt. Chris Blauvelt.
Blauvelt.
I became Muslim almost 20 years ago, and I've done a lot of things. But 7 years ago, I started what I feel is like my life mission in starting LaunchGood with Sister Amani Kalawe and brother Omar Hamid. And subhanAllah, we've grown it to this, I think, a respectable size, but hopefully still a long way to go. So we've done a lot of work with obviously helping people fundraise, and I'll talk about that in a second. And I put together a quick presentation. Well, I'm going to have to make it quick, called Don't Let Coronavirus Kill Your Fundraising. So what really works and doesn't for moving your fundraising online. And what I really like that Shaza pointed out, these are tools, like hopefully with LaunchGood it's a little bit easier, but we're going to see with Brother William and the sister, I forgot her name already, but from the Rahmah School, forgive me. You can actually, these are tools that are generally applicable. So let's jump into it. You can go to the next slide. And I don't really need to tell you guys much about this. Ramadan is a big time for us to recharge. Individually, we do it spiritually, but really our organizations, up to 70% of their operating budget comes from Ramadan fundraising. And we go to the next slide. That's really not going to be easy this year because we have this lockdown from coronavirus. Let's be honest, a lot of our fundraising wasn't so sophisticated. So they just basically hold you hostage during Taraweeh. And it's like, we're not going to finish Taraweeh until we get the money we need. It doesn't work like that online. People just don't have to watch you in your webinar. You can't force them to. Also, fundraising is really dependent on the economy. We're entering a major depression, I believe. And so that's just going to be hard for everybody right now. If we go to the next slide. All right. So a little bit of the truth of online fundraising. People think to be successful online fundraising, you have to be young and make these fancy videos and get on TikTok and like whatever, right? It's actually not true. Anyone can do it. I want to make this quick so I can listen to our co-hosts talk about how they did it with their schools. I love that. I'm really excited to learn how they did it. But you do have to work hard. It's not like people are easily separated from their money. So let's talk about what doesn't work. So if we go to the next slide. Oh, sorry, a little bit about LaunchGood. Alhamdulillah, if you haven't heard of us, we've helped raise over $100 million for charities and Muslim causes all around the world since 2013. We just celebrated 100 million. And if you want some of that story, you can go to launchgood.com/100. So we have a bit of our story there. And one thing is actually, as difficult economically as right now, we're finding this is an amazing time to be fundraising. So I just pulled up some of our stats from Google Analytics. Basically, it's a little hard to see with this formatting, but website traffic, donations, everything has basically doubled in the last month. So from February to March, it's just exploded. And February was actually a really strong month for us. So we're seeing this huge spike right now. And I do believe it's a great time to fundraise, even maybe before you get to Ramadan, as my co-hosts have done, before everyone else starts asking for people's money. Okay, what doesn't work? So really quickly, throwing a link online will not get you donations. Just doing a Zoom webinar, like you're gonna have a dinner, okay, now we're just gonna do it on Zoom and drop a link, that also doesn't work. And doing nothing obviously doesn't work. So those are three things that I think we have to be cognizant of, especially the Zoom webinar. I see a lot of people trying to bring their fundraising onto Zoom. Now, you can have a successful Zoom webinar, and we're going to hear from the Al-Rahmah Academy about how they did it, I believe. So I'll leave that to them. But just if you're thinking it's like you can just put a link online, forget that. It's not going to work. And if we go to the next thing, I have kind of 7 points and a motivation and what really works. What are the proven strategies that we've seen over and over again in LaunchGood raise tens, hundreds, even sometimes millions of dollars, or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. The first, if we go next slide, is a dedicated team. I've never seen anything more important than just having a really dedicated team, from the leadership to the volunteers, all focused that we're going to hit our fundraising goal, no matter what it is. You could try stupid strategies. I don't care. As long as you're really, really committed, I do believe that you can hit your goals. The next one is get matching funds. We saw this recently with a masjid in Dearborn, Michigan, where a donor said, if you can raise $100,000 by the end of the week, I will match it with $100,000. And this is a community that's largely immigrant, largely poor. Their crowdfunding video was even in Arabic, which is not best practices, what we would suggest. But subhanAllah, they raised $100,000 in 5 days. So if you have a donor or that ability within your community to get matching fund, that's a great draw to get people to donate. Next one is utilize influencers. We have a big campaign going on right now with Penny Peel and Celebrate Mercy for Corona relief. And Imam Khalid Latif from New York is helping promote the campaign. And by himself, because we have analytics that track it, he himself has raised over $100,000. Now, you may not be able to get Khalid Latif or Yasser Qadi involved, but anyone that you know that has a following online, if you can get them to help push your campaign, it actually really can help generate donations. A lot of this is a numbers game. You got to get the eyeballs on your campaign, and like people have to hear over and over and over again from multiple sources, like, please support our school. And then you reach a critical point where people really do start giving, inshallah. The next one is called Run Micro Fundraisers. This is also sometimes known as peer-to-peer fundraising. And the idea here is, what if you gave, for example, each teacher a micro project? So you got to raise $100,000 for your school. That's a lot. But if you could get 20 teachers or 20 parents to each try to raise 5,000, now that's actually sounds a lot more doable. And we have a feature for this, at least within LaunchGood, we can help you with. There are other websites also have this feature. Penny Peel last year used it to raise almost $1 million during Ramadan. So micro fundraisers or peer-to-peer fundraising is really effective as well. Don't put all the burden of fundraising just on your back. And then a phone tree. And I think we're going to get to this with Brother William. It's old-fashioned, but it still works. If it's WhatsApp messages, phone calls, I actually think phone calls are more powerful. People hate phone calls. So you give them a phone call, they usually don't pick up, and then you send a WhatsApp message, and you're like, hey, I was just calling to see if you could donate to my school. Here's a link, and if you want to talk about it, let me know. They'll just be like, all right, don't call back. Like, here, I'll just donate. You have my money. But it works really well. Phone trees, it's very old-fashioned, but and if you have a team, so that very first point, you have that dedicated team and everyone's making phone calls, now your tree is vast and really reaching a lot of people. Next point is get analytical. At least within LaunchGood, we have a way that people can track where those references are coming from. Sometimes you can do this with tiny URL or different systems. But if you know where the donations are coming from, what people are driving those donations, it can be very effective. As an example, Celebrate Mercy won. We had a contest in Giving Tuesday, and Celebrate Mercy won. They actually won $20,000. And part of the reason they won, they raised basically the most money and got the most donors in a 24-hour period. They got over 1,000 donors in 24 hours. And the reason they were able to do that is they told their users, each of you has a unique URL. If you share that and get people signed up, you get people to donate, then we'll put you in a contest. And I thought it was really creative. It's the first time we've seen someone do something like that. Creativity is great. Like, you want something that breaks through the noise, something that's different than what else you're seeing online. In this case, they raffled off Umrah packages, and people loved it. And you can see that they had, I try to hide it, show you the real information, but also respectful of privacy. But their fans generated dozens of referrals each, over 1,000 collectively between all of their fans. And that was within 24 hours. So that was really impressive. And the last thing, and I don't know if anyone's had experience with this, paid marketing. I've come around to it. I wasn't such a believer in it. And now I see it's actually really amazing. So specifically Facebook and Instagram ads. We make it really easy to run it, but there's a lot of ways you can run Facebook and Instagram ads. They typically have like a 5x return on investment. Now, because of what's happened with coronavirus, a lot more people are online. At the same time, less businesses are operating, so the investment in ads are less. Like, you know, airlines and hotels would spend a lot of money on Facebook ads, and they're not spending any money now on Facebook ads. So what's happened actually is the cost of Facebook ads has plummeted, yet the reach has expanded. So we're finding, whereas before we get like a 4 or 5x ROI, now we're getting about a 12x ROI. What does that mean? If you're spending $10,000 in Facebook ads, you may be able to drive $100,000 in donations. And one way to leverage that we've seen before as well, get a donor to pay for the Facebook ads. You know, if someone's going to write you a $1,000 check or a $5,000 check, say, hey, would you be willing to put that into Facebook ads? Or we're going to use your donation to put in Facebook ads, and we're going to turn your $5,000 into $50,000. And then the last piece of advice is never quit. Never quit. You never know. I mean, my very first crowdfunding campaign back in 2010, I did a Kickstarter for a film I worked on. We generated 80% of our donations in the last 2 days. And that's actually very common. You see it a lot with crowdfunding campaigns. They either start really fast or end really fast, but never, ever quit. And if you have that dedicated team and you're really providing value to community, inshallah, they will back you. A couple last slides, and I know I'm a little over time, but I was started late. Just really quick on LaunchGood. There's a lot we can do. The main thing is, if you would like to be in touch, if we go to the next slide, we can do a free consultation for you. So I just threw up this website, launchgood.com/savemyschool. We're going to be having a dedicated effort to help Islamic schools in America this year do their fundraising. My email is there. My teammate Nadeem actually joined this call, and you know, one of us will be very happy to talk to you, and we're very happy to schedule a consultation if you would like. We know that this is going to be a really difficult time for our community. Not a lot of people know this, but I'm a consultant to an Islamic school here in Michigan called Beverly Hills Academy. I've been part of it for 10 years. I used to be a teacher before LaunchGood, so I have a big heart within schools and Islamic schools, and inshallah, we're here to get your guys back.
Thank you so much, Chris. I really apologize for taking a couple of your minutes. I know that they much rather hear you than me. Really, really quickly, Chris, first of all, this is so exciting to Save My School. Thank you for doing that. I've used LaunchGood before, and I can just attest to how personalized that experience is, and that you guys do kind of have somebody help out with the campaign and really take somebody who's completely a novice and help them have a successful campaign, whatever that means for your organization. Ramadan has some special features too. Are you guys going to continue with the Ramadan challenge?
Yes, I didn't bring that up. It's a good point. We have a Ramadan challenge. So thousands, actually like over 10,000 people sign up to give every day in Ramadan. And alhamdulillah, they discover campaigns, but also part of what we do is we have daily prizes. So every day we're giving out over $20,000 in prizes. So if you were able to organize your school and, let's say, get the most donors on the third day of Ramadan, you're going to win a $5,000 prize to your campaign. Or if you get second place, you get $2,500. And yeah, just throughout the month, we have it's amazing traffic to the website, prizes, giveaways, like all sorts of really fun stuff. And a little bit more information on that, I'll share a link within the chat here, but it's basically Ramadan Start. So launchgood.com/Ramadan Start.
And not only that, but you guys also do the automated giving, which I think really boosts any campaign. So it's like no campaign is really a loser. I felt like when I did my
That's exactly right. You know, a lot of Muslims want to take advantage of like giving daily charity, but it's too much work to give daily consciously. So we have it so they just auto donate. Like they say, okay, I want to donate $10 a day. And then we spread that across all the, you know, thousands of campaigns on LaunchGood. And so just being within the network of LaunchGood, inshallah, you get exposed to donation. But I don't want anyone to be too reliant on that. Really, you can do this from your own donors, from your own community, and that should be your mindset. And anything extra you get from that is a cherry on top. But I think we should go to other speakers because I'm
Thank you
super
so much.
personally interested to hear about how they did it.
Absolutely. We're so excited to hear from Brother William and Sister Mehnaz. Brother William is the principal at Islamic School of Louisville. He's a certified leadership challenge facilitator and leadership practices inventory coach, which sounds so interesting. I would love to hear more about that, William, in a conversation off off this Zoom meeting, inshallah. And he's also a board member of the Council of Islamic Schools of North America. We're so happy to have you on, Brother William. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at whose mic is unmuted, or maybe that's William.
Hello.
Yeah, that's me. It's someone decided to call at the worst time.
Of course.
How are you?
Brother William will jump right in.
Okay. So assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Well, there is some video about
I think that might be someone.
raising money for Islamic schools.
Well, he's talking about it. He likes it.
I think that's Brother Mahmoud.
He sent it to me, so I'm trying to join the webinar.
Sorry, guys. Okay, there it is. All right, go ahead, Brother William.
All right, well, thank you very much for the invitation. I think that this stemmed from me sending an email about a week ago. And the email that I sent on the IECN was a summary of the fundraiser that our school had recently accomplished. And the reason that I sent it was to share in the hopes that it was beneficial for anyone else. And also because of the fact that our own school was quite panicked about everything that's going on and the financial needs and the fact that we normally do fundraising in a different way this time of the year. And that I heard from many schools saying that they don't think they can do a fundraiser right now because of everything that is going on. So the reason why I sent that email was to show that we were facing those exact same challenges and we were able to overcome those challenges. So the first thing I'm going to talk about very quickly is about a fundraiser that we did. We did collect $100,000, and it's the first time we've done a spring fundraiser through WhatsApp, although we have done smaller fundraisers through WhatsApp. And we did not think that we would collect the amount of money that we did, and I want to talk about that and about some other aspects of it too. One thing that I would like to share is that as Brother Chris mentioned, usually doing fundraisers like this is not about just opening up a group or a link and then the money pours in. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what we did and what our conscious strategy was before we opened these groups. The first one is that as we're in this situation right now, I feel that this is a unique situation for our schools in the sense that we can come out and show more value for Islamic schools than maybe people have seen before. So one of the things that we've really been trying to do for the past 2 weeks is be very present for the community by providing some spiritual support, a lot of Facebook posts, live story times, things like that that are available not just for our students and parents, but for the entire community. Telling stories about, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, difficult times, inspiration. I've found that people have shown a lot of appreciation for that. So really, this is the time that we felt that we can really step up and really engage the community in different ways. If you could go to the next slide, please. So when it came to the fundraising part, when it first came, the idea that we need money, we have to collect it. Otherwise, we have so many questions in our schools right now. We don't know about April tuition and May tuition. Is that going to be impacted? There's so many unknowns, and there was so much hesitancy in our community when we first started talking about doing this fundraiser that we simply cannot ask right now. We can't do it. There's no way. The timing's terrible. It looks in bad taste. And despite this, it isn't a great time. One of the ways that we found to be more successful is to be really upfront about the timing. So we called many of our key donors, we talked to people and asked their opinion about it and really communicated to them that we know it's a bad time. We understand that people have a lot of things on their mind. Even donors right now are being affected in different professions. But we were upfront about our salaries, the reason that the majority of these costs were going to cover salaries for us, what our expenses were, what the deficit amount was. And we ended up creating a letter, which I shared on the IECN for anyone that wants to use it, which is more or less saying, this is what it's for. We know the timing is terrible, but this is what the need is for. It helped tremendously because we found that a couple people were called before we tried that approach, and the immediate response was, no, what do you mean? You're asking for money now? What's wrong with you? And so once we started the more transparent, straightforward approach, once we started doing that, we found that it already once you're front loading that, it seemed to make a huge impact on people's conversations. And then it allowed us to talk about what the fundraiser really was for. If you don't mind going to the next one, please. So one of the things that we found that was a key part of this, and it's something that we've been trying to develop throughout this year, is moving away from what I would call the donor ATM model, which is that many times, and I've been guilty of this many times, is that we contact our donors when it's time for the fundraiser. So we don't say anything to them. And then when it's time for fall fundraiser, it's time for the spring fundraiser, we give them a call and say, hey, you're still good for some money, right? I've found that that is not a best practice, and that doesn't work very well. You might get some people to donate out of guilt, but it certainly doesn't build very sustainable relationships. So one of the things that we've been working on this year is assigning a list of our key donors, making sure that our board and committee members are assigned to them, and that we have at least a couple check-ins in between those fundraisings. And we're not asking for money during those times, ideally. We haven't been perfect, but this is something we've tried this year to move towards, and it is paying off. By asking people more for advice on what do you think our school could do better? Here's what we're trying to do. We need more of this. What is your advice on how we could do a better job? That has helped. And when we came to this fundraiser too, we approached many of the donors and asked them, how do you think we could best do this? We can't do our traditional fundraiser. We can't do it like this. And many of them ended up giving advice. There was an adage that I have learned that I think is really helpful, that when you ask for money, you get advice. And when you ask for money, or when you ask for advice, you get money and advice. And I found that that is very, very true and helpful. So not just treating donors as ATMs, but about valuable people who have input on how you are operating and how you want to collect your money and improve the school. So the next part that I'd like to talk about, just to get into the actual fundraiser we did. So just to clarify, there has been some misconceptions with people I have talked to about doing a WhatsApp fundraiser before when they've tried it. If they don't do those things before, and it's like opening the Facebook link. How many people have done that before, where you open a Facebook fundraiser and you say, we need $100,000, please donate? It usually doesn't work, just like Brother Chris mentioned, and it hasn't worked in my experience. There's a lot of those relationships and talking to people and getting people involved. What we did for our recent fundraiser is we used WhatsApp. What we did is we have a committee, which is like a parent-teacher association. So we have these parent volunteers, people who are influencers, the people who are super, super committed. We divided up donors for them to contact before opening the group. So anyone that we invited to the group, we have learned from past experience doing this a few years ago, if you just blindly drop people into a WhatsApp group, it's almost like putting a gun to their head and saying, give me money. And people end up leaving in droves when you do that. So making sure, hey, we'd like to do this fundraiser. Is it okay if we add you? People say yes, they're more likely to donate and they're more likely to support you. So we have those people. We also create links and send them out to parents to say, hey, there's a fundraiser we have, put them in other community WhatsApp groups and say, hey, would you like to join our fundraiser? And then those people will join too. It's better to have fewer people that are actually willing to be there than to dump 1,000 people in there and have 100 people leave every 20 minutes because there are too many posts. That can kind of take the wind out of your sails. So way that we involve students. So we were planning on involving students. In the past 2 years, we've involved students quite a bit in our fundraisers. Instead of me standing there and talking about why I think this school is important for the kids, we've decided to let the kids talk about why they think this school is important. And that tends to have a big effect because the kids do it better. One time the kids told me last year, I said, do you think it would be better for the kids? And they said, yes, we're cuter. And we know about the school more than you do. So I said, I can't disagree with that. So we've taken that approach. So what did we do online is that we asked for the parents to please provide any pictures of kids doing e-learning this week or making any video, short video, 15 seconds, picture, artwork, or anything that shows why they love the school. If you see this boy here, the example says, I miss my school, please support ISL. It didn't take any money. It took the parent very little time to create that, and it had a huge impact. That brought thousands of dollars, just that one picture right there. So we added anyone who wanted to add those pictures, and we would input them into the group sporadically, and we would use volunteers a lot. So I can't do all of this, right? We had about 10 volunteers who were very dedicated, who were male and female, 2 separate groups. And you can use those male and female groups to kind of compete with each other. So it's like, sisters, the brothers just donated this much. Can you meet this? We've all done those things in the in-person fundraisers. They tend to work as well in the WhatsApp fundraisers as well. So doing that, a little bit of, ahadith and Quran and things like that, you try to keep it going. And in the end result, we did it over the course of 2 days. So we usually do these on weekends. When we've done these in the past, I will tell you, we've never collected this amount of money. We've usually done 50, 60, 70 at most. This one is over 100,000. And I think it's because of the timing. And we assumed the timing was terrible. And in fact, when we were upfront about the timing and talked to people about it, we actually had some donors say, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to do something good during a time like this. So I would just like to share this experience for people to give them a sense of hope that it can be done. There are people out there that want to do things that are meaningful. They want to support the work that we're doing. I think many of us, and this has been a challenge for me, is to stop thinking of fundraising as something that you have to feel bad. It's not like you're begging or holding your hand out, but actually research shows that when people donate, they feel better. They live longer lives, right? They are healthier, they're happier, and then you can add all of the religious, the hasanat and good deeds that people get. And it's something that we need to rethink a bit. So in the end, it is not a completely sophisticated approach. Brother Chris mentioned, analytics and things like that. And I think that's awesome, and having support of people who are far more experienced than myself. But this is something that I just wanted to share. And if anyone has any questions they'd like to follow up on, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Brother William. Jazakumullah khairan. That was really great. And I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of identifying that, we are often very afraid to ask and feel embarrassed, but it's actually a great opportunity for others to share in the khair, inshallah. So some of it is part of that paradigm shift, and then using these techniques. So Jazakumullah khairan for sharing your experience and giving us hope and encouragement to do it even right now amidst the crisis that we're all facing. So inshallah, we now have Sister Mehnaz Fatima, the Vice Principal of Al-Rahmah School in Maryland. Really excited to have you join, and let's go. Thank you, Sister Mehnaz. Jump right in.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Shaza. Thank you for giving this opportunity to share what we have done a couple of weeks ago. Thank you again. I really learned a lot from Brother William and Brother Chris, and I think I have few points that I can share with my board and with my administration. Alhamdulillah. So with our little bit of our background, our school is, we have nursery and we have education program for grades K to 8. And we have, the school was established, I believe, 32 to 33 years ago, Alhamdulillah. And we had originally planned to do our gala on March 14th, which was on a Saturday evening. But with the COVID-19 outbreak and with the regulations that were put in place, we had to decide to change in-person gala to the virtual fundraiser. And the decision was made just 2 days before Saturday. I think it was a meeting on Wednesday, and that is when the board and the volunteers and the administration decided not to cancel it, but to go virtual. Alhamdulillah. With that being said, as Brother Chris said, the most important thing in order for it, for your fundraiser to be a success, is you need to have a committed team. And Alhamdulillah, we were blessed to have a core volunteers that has been always so helpful with the in terms of the school events and helping us plan. So we had a committed team. Then we also utilized the influencers, as Brother Chris was saying. We have reached out to the scholars across US and across the globe who have come to Al-Rahmah to present, and who were part of our events in the past. So we reached out to them and asked if they would be part of the fundraiser. Alhamdulillah. So we were able to, Imam Siraj Wahaj was the main speaker, but apart from him, we were able to get 4 more speakers from England, from Texas, from Madina al-Munawwara, and from other places too, Alhamdulillah. And the third element, what Brother Chris said, was the phone tree. That helped us as well in terms of, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in my next slide. My next slide. So the planning was done in 4 different areas. One was technical, the other one was marketing, financial, and the program. Since we were planning to do the fundraiser on Saturday, and we had decided by Thursday evening that we will not be holding an in-person fundraiser. So we requested the parents on Thursday. We called the parents if they can send their kids on Friday, because that was their last day of school. So we asked if the parents can send our student performers in their costumes, so we can record their performances. So Alhamdulillah, in that aspect, we were able to record the performances of our students, and the speech and the spoken word we had from our students. So Alhamdulillah, we were able to record all of that and edit it overnight so that we can play it on Saturday, Alhamdulillah. So I'm just gonna go over the tools that we have used in different aspects. We used for the technical area, we used Wirecast. Wirecast was the one that we used in order to connect with the speakers across the globe. And then we used mobile calls, which was to send text messages to our donors, which we sent it a day, 2 days before, then on the day of the event. And we used phone vibes to send recorded messages to the donors as well. Then on for the marketing, so Alhamdulillah, our volunteers, they were divided into 4 areas as I have listed here. So we have technical part where the volunteers are working only on the technical aspect of it. Then we have marketing team. They were more focused on creating the YouTube videos and the video messages, the Facebook and the WhatsApp groups, and all through they were making their presence known on the social media. Then our financial team. So we did what you can call it as a typical telethon, where we had, we used it, Vonage service. So we created a call number and we shared that number with our donors, and the donors were able to call to make donations. And also our volunteers, they called our donors. They were given a script and they called the donors from last year asking if they could match their donation from last year. And in terms of the program, even though the program was designed to play between 1.5 hours to 2 hours, subhanallah, it lasted for 4 hours. We were able to, since we were able to record the students' performances, we repeated it every hour. And since our construction is the major project that we are going through right now for the expansion of our campus, we had pre-recorded construction walkthrough videos. We used that, we played it. Then we had speakers who have come, who have given address this to the parent body. And then we also had the number of viewers on an average, I can say, was between 90 to 200 at any given time. And due to this reason, we were able to repeat our recorded videos, and we were able to reshare the speaker's speech as well. Now, in terms of, we had also reached out to our alumni and our teachers. So we had asked them to record a video and share it with us. And some were, so alhamdulillah, we played those videos during the program. So when our parents logged in, they were able to see a little bit of everything at any given moment. And during this whole process, they went away with what we were trying to deliver, alhamdulillah. So as I said, having a dedicated team is the most important thing. Without the dedicated team, it was very, very hard. In order to get, and alhamdulillah, at that time the regulation was 50 plus, so we were able to have at least 20 people in a room, in a big large classroom, and everybody was coordinating with each other and kind of helping us with that, alhamdulillah. So that was just a brief overview of what we did with our fundraiser. And alhamdulillah, the two things that we have learned that we could have done differently was definitely using more time in marketing, because since we made that decision 2 days ago, I think we were not able to reach out to everybody. We could have done even better, and the other would have been including more live student performances or interviews or testimonies from them. Alhamdulillah, our goal was to raise $250,000, but alhamdulillah, by the end of that evening, we ended up raising, alhamdulillah, $235,000. So we were $15,000 shy from our goal. So that is our brief overview. And if I'm open for questions, this was something that we have done it. This was the very first time that we did. And I'm open for questions, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Sister Mehnaz. That was really thorough. I'm sorry that there was this one screen that had a lot of the specific information.
Yeah.
Can you just keep that up for a few minutes, Reza? There's some questions people wanted just to write down the name of the technical section.
I imagine. Sure, absolutely. Let me keep that up. I didn't realize that that was the next one. So Resha, while they are looking at that, Sister Resha and Sister Seema, would you guys like to chime in with any of the questions that people have posted on the chat?
Other than the name of the platform, that's the one I've noticed. If you could just put that up.
The other thing is that we get a copy of this. That was a question early on. Will the slides be available?
Yeah.
So the slides will be available on our website. I don't have everybody's email addresses that have joined, all of the participants. So you'll have to head on over to our website, and Sister Seema or Sister Resha will include that in the chat, www.theisla.org. Give us a couple of days. This is new territory for me, so I will figure out how to upload that onto our website, and inshallah have that available for you guys.
Chris just posted he just put a link to his slides on our website in the chat.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to add one more thing. Since we always do our fundraisers in March, this year what we decided was our monthly theme in January was gratitude. So this year we decided that we would send, we did a thank you letter campaign where we collected the addresses from our board, our donors' addresses, and the community members. And we wrote a letter, and mashallah, all grades from K to 8 were part of it. So we sent them a letter in the month of January. Thank you for your support, ever support that you always show. Please, please attend our fundraiser, which is coming in March, things like that. So
thank you, Sister Mehnaz. That's a great approach. I think having that invitation from beforehand, although the date changed, it still ended up being something that people were looking out for. I want to open it up for questions. Sister Resha at the beginning shared with you all how to raise your hand. So if you have something that you want to say, go ahead and raise your hand, and we will call on you and unmute your mic and let you ask your question to any of our panelists. Yes, Brother Matthew. Oh, Brother Mo, sorry. unmute. Let me. So I'm clicking unmute. Maybe I have to lower his hand first. Oops. So I'm unmuting you, Brother Mo Adams, but it's not letting me. I'm not sure if it's a technical issue on my side or yours. Feel free to unmute yourself if you still wanted to ask a question. Okay, anyone else with a question? Inshallah, Brother Mo. Okay, go ahead, Brother Mo. Can you unmute yourself? I'm unable to for some reason. I'm clicking on the button, but. Okay, is there anyone else with a question? I'm sorry, Brother Mo, for whatever reason, it's not letting me unmute you. Brother.
Question as well might be an
okay,
option.
There you go. Okay, yeah, and please, Brother Mo, if you can't, thank you so much. That's a good idea. For some reason, if you do have a question and we're unable to have you speak it, please go ahead and feel free to use the chat to do that. In the meanwhile, Nenar, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, our question is, we represent Baitul Iman Academy, New Jersey. Our question is to understand a little more about Get Analytical. Brother Chris was explaining it, so we thought we can get a few more clarification on it to learn a little better on it.
Thank you, Brother Nenar. That's a great question. I was wondering the same. Brother Chris, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. So one thing I do want to point out is it's not necessary, right? And I think both of these co-presenters, they didn't have necessarily advanced analytics by any means, but alhamdulillah, they're able to raise a lot. However, we do find knowing where your donations are coming from can be very useful. So it can optimize your efforts. Like, you only have so much time to spend on marketing or reaching out to people, etc. One thing, at least within the LaunchGood platform, we have an Insights tab. So if you're running a crowdfunding campaign, within that Insights tab, you can see where donations are coming from. Put my video on. And that can let you see, like, okay, let's say you have a volunteer team, and everyone on that volunteer team is supposed to get at least 10 donations. And you're seeing like one of them is getting like 100 donations. You could be like, Sister Khalida, like, what are you doing? Like, how did you get 100 donations, And so you can really kind of pinpoint what seems to be working the best, and then amplify that. I would say if that makes sense, then it's a good strategy. If it doesn't make sense, now's not the time. There's probably not enough time for Ramadan to really understand that strategy well. But it's a bit more advanced, but it can be very useful. And if you've ever seen campaigns on LaunchGood that raise like $1 million or $500,000, they probably actually use a lot of analytics.
And Brother Chris, that's something that you guys assist with through the platform?
Yeah, it's something we can assist with.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'd say it's not really necessary. I think both of these presentations, like what they really showed to me, is you have to have a real connection, a really dedicated team, and you have to work at it. You have to ask. And I think like those basics really get you where you need to go.
Thank you.
Sheza?
Yes, go ahead.
There's a few questions on the chat to Sister Mehnaz.
Okay.
I'm wondering how many people were on the WhatsApp fundraiser. Was it primarily a series of posts to the group? And was it an admin only can post WhatsApp group? Those are two questions.
Sure, that's a great question. And that's to Brother William. Brother William, your response?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Sure. How many people were in the groups? For the people that were donors, I'd say there's about 75 to 100 in each of the groups for the women and for the men. It was not an admin only can post WhatsApp group. Some people may be hesitant to have that control or give up that control, but As I stated earlier, we're pretty comfortable doing that because the people who we invited are people who have accepted the invitation for the most part, or they have joined willingly. So it's actually a great plus because I've had people contact me and privately and say, can you talk about this that the school does? Can you talk about that? And my response is usually, could you do it? Could you talk about that and on behalf of the school? So you end up enlisting other parents, and you have donors who are encouraging other donors as well. I believe the question, so it was admin only and the number of people. I think, is there anything else that it wasn't answered?
Brother William, I actually wonder, did you close the group after the fundraiser was done, or do you, because sometimes then people just start forwarding stuff and you wonder what's the...
Yeah, we usually close it at least the day after it's completed. And I think there was another question too about a series of posts. It says, was it primarily a series of posts to the group? Yeah, so there is sort of a momentum to it. We tend to make it last over the course of a couple of days. There are times that are busier than others. Usually the first day that we've done it, it's a lot busier than the second day. Usually the bigger donations come in the first day and the smaller donations trickle in after that. You'll also find it's really common for people to want to give anonymously, so they will not want to do their pledge in front of the entire group. So you'll have to manage that as well. Another thing that we used was a fundraiser thermometer. So there's any little app or simple code. Just type in fundraiser thermometer, and we put that into our website, and we would update that as we got the pledges so that you could continue to put that picture in both of the groups to encourage people to see the progress, 20, now we're 30, now we're 50. We also would try, we weren't that great about it this year, but one of our lessons would be to make sure that we have volunteers who are responsible for sending posts for certain hours. Because if you don't do that and you have a lot of volunteers, what ends up happening is you flood people with way too much. So I just sent a video, someone else sent a picture, someone else said something. No one sees any of them, and that frustrates people when their phone goes off too much. So there's a balance between, there's a momentum to it, and we have a group for admins, and that's where we coordinate strategy and talk to each other and say, who's going to be the one who's going to do this matching drive in the next hour? And when we don't coordinate very well, then we step on each other's toes and you end up overwhelming people. Otherwise, when you do organize a bit more, when you do it like this, it is a long weekend, but it's worth it in the end. I've been able to sleep a little bit better since we've had money in the account and we can pay our teachers.
So this is Seema. I just wanted to add something. These are great stories. I think sharing our stories is so important. And on this call, I've myself just gained so much information. Of course, some people are at different levels. So there was a question that said, what's the admin only? It's a setting on WhatsApp so that only certain people can post. But there are lots of reasons that you do that. And there are also times that you can turn it off so you can go back and forth. I don't know if that's helpful to the person who asked the question. But that was one thing that came up on the chat.
And one of the other things I wanted to just quickly mention was that I know that there's a lot of board members on this call that aren't part of our email group. I know that Brother William has very generously shared the letter template that or actually the actual letter that they used for their school. So Brother William, not to inundate you with emails and requests, if you don't mind including your email address in the chat, maybe that would be something that some people might want to contact you about. The other offer or kind of invitation that I have for you all is to please join our email discussion group. It is known as the IECN, the Islamic Educators Communication Network. This is operated by the ISLA, Islamic Schools League of America. And this is a group of over 850 Islamic school educators, board members, administrators, teachers, and just concerned community members. And it is a discussion group. Recently, we have had an explosion of discussions on it, people sharing so many resources. And I think that it's in moments like these where the value of it is really, really amplified. And so we invite you to join it by clicking on or copying this link, theisla.org/subscribe/IECN. And it is not an automatic ad. We do monitor and make sure that the integrity of the group is maintained by ensuring that only individuals affiliated with Islamic schools are a part of it. So I just wanted to kind of give that plug in right there. We only have a few more minutes. Anyone else with questions or?
There's a question on the chat with only just a few more minutes. It says, how does LaunchGood integrate with Network for Good platform? Are we able to collect all the donors' data with Launch for Good or LaunchGood?
A great question, Brother Chris.
We don't have a direct integration with Network for Good, but when you create a campaign, you get to download all your donor information. So we have your names, emails, billing addresses, so you can send donor receipts. And they also get donor receipt as they go along. So yeah, we make sure that you get all that data, inshallah.
However, Brother Chris, with the automated, the 30-day challenge, you don't get everybody's information if they haven't made that public.
That's true. Yeah, sorry. So if it's one of our automated donors, you won't be able to see their information because they want that to be private. Otherwise, they get too many on too many email lists. But basically, you get all your donor information.
We have time for maybe one more quick question, Sister Rasha. Do you see anything else coming up, or anyone else want to raise their hand?
Brother William actually was able to share the fundraising email template on the chat directly. So that was great as well. Jazakallah khairan, Brother William, for doing that. I don't see any other questions.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yes, I just had a question for Brother William. I was wondering why the organization chose the WhatsApp opposed to using another tool. Was there something that you found in that particular application that would work best for fundraisers?
Yeah, I don't think that WhatsApp is necessarily designed or was designed with that in mind, but we used it because most of our parents, if all of them, have it and use it regularly. And a lot of it was just something that we came up with before, and it's worked for us in the past. So it's relatively easy to use. I like it because it's easy for people to mute the notifications. People know how to manage the settings, leave the group, join the group. So it didn't require a lot of instruction or explanation for people to learn how to use some new unfamiliar technology.
So much. All right. Well, we are at our 5 o'clock. I have one last hand raised, if we don't mind just hanging on for a couple more minutes. I don't know what that name is, but MKH.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
This is Mohammed Al-Shabrawi from Augusta, Georgia. First, thank you and Jazakumullah khairan for arranging this meeting. It's a wonderful effort. I have a question. I know that the main topic was fundraising, but I don't want to lose this opportunity since I see a lot of people here involved in Islamic schools. Is there any future meeting or conference which bring all principal of Islamic schools or people involved in Islamic education nationwide to get together and set a kind of vision for the future of Islamic school across the nation? I know that this might be out of context, but it's a very rare opportunity to have to see people involved in Islamic schools here, guys.
And remind me your name, brother?
Mohammed Al-Shabrawi.
Okay, Brother Mohammed, this is maybe a great opportunity to just end with this comment. You know, Brother Mohammed, we are organizing this as the Islamic Schools League of America. We also have another organization. I see Sister Sufia, the Council for Islamic Schools of North America. Our organizations really work hard to provide opportunities like this for Islamic school leaders and educators to come together, board members. And so we invite you to join our email list so that you can be aware of the future meetings, whether they're virtual or in person. There are many discussions on this email group, but also a lot of announcements about these kinds of gatherings. So absolutely, our organizations do have a vision for Islamic schools to make them, you know, the ideal centers of learning and to have God-centered education and holistic education for our children. So I know that that's something that resonates with all of our Islamic schools, and we are here to support you all in it. So please do join the IECN. It's just our abbreviation for the email list. And I think that that's a great place for us to end. Without taking too much of your Saturday, I really appreciate you all joining. Brother Chris, Brother William, and Sister Mehnaz, Jazakumullah khairan for joining us and sharing so many details that I am sure will benefit many other schools and their fundraisers and organizations, including our own. May Allah allow you all to benefit from that as well, and allow it to be part of your scale of good deeds. I'll just conclude with Surah Al-Asr. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal Asr. Inna al-insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. May Allah accept this from us. May Allah put barakah in all of our efforts and money, and may Allah allow this disease to be eradicated from this earth, and allow us to come out of this test better humans and better slaves of His, inshallah. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inshallah, visit our website for the recording.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum assalam. To stop recording.